And we're live. Hi. Welcome to another episode of Leadership Studio. I am here with my friend and colleague, Krishna Vivek.
Hi.
Hi, and we're going to talk about agile feedback loops and high performing teams. But before we do that, Krishna, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi,
Because you're going to do a
Todd.
better job than I will.
Hi, thank you so much, Todd. This is a great opportunity for me to connect with you and connect with everybody. Talking about my favorite topic, Agile. A little bit about me. I am Krishna Vivek and been in information technology for over 25 years. And I have always passionate about continuous learning and teaching back to the community. I would say since 2014, I have been deeply involved in agile related project, and since then, I always I would say almost like fell in love with it. So that's one of the reasons, Todd, when you reach out to me and I said, okay, sure, this is something dear, closer to my heart, and I'm happy to have the conversation. And especially, I feel this is a great opportunity to connect, be with you. And thank you. Thank you for this opportunity again.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me. And I'm excited about this too because you Krishna have more recent experience in agile spaces than I do. It's been rather a while for me, I've really appreciated the the time that I've spent in agile spaces, and especially in agile spaces with you too, because we do have that professional connection, and I think there's a lot to be gleaned here. So when we first imagined talking about agile feedback loops, it excited me because I think I've been on the receiving end of feedback within agile contexts, and I know that you have too, and we've also both been on the giving end of feedback. And one of the things about agile feedback is that it is really a continuous thing. It happens sort of all the time. So when we talk about an agile feedback loop, like what maybe it would be helpful, and maybe I'm going to ask you to do this. Could you help us out? What do we mean by an agile feedback loop? What even is that?
So for me, the feedback is not one time thing. It has to be
Mm-hmm,
continuous. That's one of the reason agile works very well, because you get immediate feedback, you act on it.
mm-hmm,
And and then feedback, sometimes when you take it, you have to you don't consider all the feedback as negative. There is
mm-hmm,
also positive, because when you are an agile or scrum team, and when you develop something, you have a cadence and you have your uh, agile related ceremonies, and
mm-hmm,
so feedback is one of them, or you could say retro. And during the
mm-hmm,
time, you will understand what actually went really well. That's your positive feedback. And then
mm-hmm,
there are things, then team can come back and say, it's going fine, I want to keep it, right? And then there are
mm-hmm,
feedback, and the team can say, oh, we wish it went this way, but it didn't go this way, the way we wanted to. So
mm-hmm,
how we going to make sure we don't repeat that, and we will
mm-hmm,
maybe have some action plans to do it differently. So that's why I
mm-hmm,
would always think this feedback is very critical for scrum teams, especially high performance team. You
mm-hmm,
always need to evaluate the feedback, and you make adjustment as required.
mm-hmm. So what's interesting to me and what I really love about that is you're describing an intra team feedback. So like the team gets together and they discuss their own performance as a team. And I think, when we think of the word feedback within the context of business, sort of more broadly, performance evaluations is often what comes to mind. And those can happen less frequently, and they're fraught and they're difficult to do. And there's all the emotions that go along with them. And I think what I'm hearing from here is that because it happens more frequently, there's sort of an opportunity to get um, familiar with the process. Is that right? Is that what you mean?
Absolutely. And again, feedback, and when I'm more specifically talking about within Scrum team, it's who actually being part of it involved. And then when the feedback could be different when you have a one-on-one with your manager or one-on with your
Mm-hmm.
lead or somebody else, like that's a different.
Mm-hmm.
But here, when you receive a feedback or give feedback, is within the safe area, I would say, right? But
Mm-hmm.
when also feedback differs, when you, like, as I'm a receiver and you are giving me a feedback, um, and it's my mindset at that time, it depending on the situation and
Mm-hmm.
also time, right? Because maybe I was working on something, I made a mistake, and then you calling me out for a quick, call or one-on-one discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And I could be like, on my other end, whatever that you're going to provide, I could either accept it, or I could
Mm-hmm.
either say, oh, I did not do it. So it depending
Mm-hmm.
on how we kind of uh, play it, the feedback differs, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
So what I love about what you're saying is that there's, and again, this is layers, right? And this is the thing that I love about Agile is there's the feedback that the team creates for itself. You mentioned the retro, like the retrospective, where the team talks about, here's this thing that we did. Let's say it's a sprint, right? That and during this sprint, here's what worked well, here's what worked didn't well, here's what we want more of, here's what less of, here's something we didn't do that we want to try. But then within that team are individuals, and there's opportunities for individuals to receive feedback. And I have a feeling that that's where it gets a little bit trickier and more challenging, doesn't it?
Right.
Because like, if there's negative feedback within that context, it's about me, potentially. It's not
Yes.
about what did we do, it's about what did I do, or what did I fail to do. And you know what, before we go too much further, Krishna, I forgot to mention, y'all know, like, the people that are watching, this is interactive. So if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on YouTube, you can put comments in, we'll see them, we'll grab them. And so feel free to interact with us,
Yes.
because I'm making up that there are lots of people that are watching this, but probably have some of these experiences. And we're going to talk a little bit about what worked for us and what didn't work for us. And we'd love to hear what worked for you, what didn't work for you as well. So back to the individual, right? There's that individual thing, that thing that, like, I receive negative feedback, and within an Agile context, it can come at me all the time, because performance feedback, traditionally, remember, that might happen once or twice a year, not all the time. But within an Agile context, it happens all the time.
All the time, right? Depending whether you're having it 2-week sprint, 3-week sprint, or even 1-month sprint, that cycle still continues, right? So you would have it. And, Scrum Master, I don't know if anybody joined here, they know they try not to have the working teams leaders in the retro, because what Scrum Master would like, or product owner would like, is the real authentic feedback from the working team, whether among themselves they have some growing pains or other challenges, or even with their peer, all their people managers or other people, they have challenges. This is the forum that the team would openly have the discussion. For that reason, we try not to engage the leaders, right? But they, and the Scrum Master's also responsibility, making sure, listen to the team, and if there is something that they can take it away with the leaders, then they will do. But here, that's what I like about this Agile retro or feedback session, where we allow the team to openly discuss anything that is preventing them to continue with their progress, right?
But as an individual, like, when I receive that feedback as an individual, whether it's from my leader or whether it's from another member of the team, right? Like, obviously the intent of receiving that feedback is meant to be, improvement. It's meant to be so that, we can become together a high performing team. which
Right.
is the other part of the title of of this conversation, right?
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes I like, at least in my experience, sometimes receiving that feedback helps me become a high performer. And sometimes receiving that feedback, especially when it comes to quantity, can either be so overwhelming that I ignore it, or there can be so much of it that I don't have time to action it. In which case, it kind of has the opposite effect, doesn't it? Or it can have the opposite effect.
Yes.
So what do we do? So what do we do to combat that? Like what do you know works?
So it all depends on who you are receiving the feedback from, because there
Mm-hmm.
could be time that somebody really care about your growth,
Mm-hmm.
and sincerely telling you that, and upfront, which I like it, because I
Mm-hmm.
prefer them upfront. Tell me, Krishna, this doesn't work. You had a presentation, but you were using many fillers, or you keep repeating.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I tend to do it when I'm nervous, right? So those are honest
Mm-hmm.
feedback, and people who knows me, they can tell. So I can make a note of it, and I can
Mm-hmm.
improve. But there are some times that when somebody comes and tell you something and it doesn't mean anything, because I know
Mm-hmm.
my own level. In that sense,
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to be offensive. I can simply calm down myself and listen, which I would do. Like, I don't take it personally, because it's not about,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's it could be they are going through something, and they just kind of having a bad day and coming to me and
Mm-hmm.
just telling me about what I did not right.
Yeah.
So in that case, but it took me a while to kind of calm myself, because I used to I had a lot of anxiety, imposter syndrome. When
Mm-hmm.
somebody tells me something, I get so panicked. Like, I'm saying, oh, am I going
Mm-hmm.
to get in trouble? Did I do something? And then, like, I go and like kind of analyze it too much. It really wasn't helpful. But later,
Mm-hmm.
I started, I kind of sit back, and I realized that it's nothing to do with me. But it took
Oh.
me a while. But what it taught me
Can
was,
I pause you for a second though? Because I think you said something really interesting, and I wanna just sort of give this a bit of space, because you realize that it's not about me, and that's a really interesting thing to say, right? Like, if I'm receiving feedback and someone's telling me about me, my performance, something that I've done, it's like the natural response, the very natural and human response is to think that, well, that's about me. And if I, like, what I'm hearing you say is that you can abstract it and make it, all right, so this is about something that I've done, but it's not about me, like me as a human being, as an individual, as a person. It's not about my self-worth, right? It's just about something that I did.
yes, exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
and you're smiling when I say that, so I'm thinking that
Yeah.
maybe I said something right, so you tell me.
No. I'm just saying to you that it's all like your personal how you perceive the feedback, right? So
Mm-hmm.
immediately who cares about you, and who I'm not saying they don't care about you, but then the
Mm-hmm.
feedback, depending on the situation, depending on the timing, depending who you're receiving the feedback, you can't
Mm-hmm.
take everything too personal. But at the same time, you can't ignore it. Listen to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just don't assume like it's not about you all the time, right? But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, the feedback, for me, the negative feedback, even though it's actually kind of really strong and sting, but if you take it as a positive, you can
Mm-hmm.
get better. Challenge yourself. You don't need to challenge the person who provided you the feedback, but
Right.
you could challenge yourself, right?
There's this saying, and certainly I heard it a lot in my last corporate job and the one before that. That people like to use. They used to say it's this phrase that feedback is a gift, and I struggled with that for a long time, because sometimes feedback's garbage. And right, like sometimes it's not helpful, sometimes it's not useful. And like you said, if it doesn't come from a place of caring, if it doesn't come from a place of really wanting to help someone improve, then it can be negative, it can be hurtful, it can be damaging. So the way that I reframed feedback as a gift for myself anyway was to realize that, actually all feedback is a gift, but I don't have to like every gift that I'm given.
No.
Right? Like sometimes someone gives you like a really ugly sweater, and like it's a gift.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to wear it.
It's your choice, right? It's your choice. I mean, even feedback, the same thing, right? And it's actually, is it going to help you grow or going to the next level that you wanted to grow? Then take it, and it's take it such a way that it helps you to grow. But if it's
so how do you know? I know I'm interrupting. I'm sorry, but how do you know if it's gonna help you grow? You said if it's gonna help you grow, take it. But how do I know? How do I know if it'll help you grow?
I personally, you know what? It's all experience. As you get like really, really like wiser or mature, your maturity levels goes up. Then you actually learn to separate them. Like I said, if you had asked me 10 years ago, I was really, really like taking everything so personally. You can do this, and like really putting myself down. And if I had told you, Todd, I was an introvert person because I was so worried about how other people think of me. And like 10 years, something like over the 10 years, something changed. Like now, yes, I do have. I'm not saying that I don't have. I'm not having imposter syndrome because of the feedback I receive, but I can filter them. I can kind of identify them. Who is it coming from? And again, this is not something that I learned overnight. I have behind my back, there are a lot of amazing mentors like you, right?
Thank you.
It's not something that I learned immediately. Like there are amazing leaders who actually helped me. They said it's not you alone. We receive feedback, but the important is how do you handle it? And another thing that it helped me was I was always on the receiving side. When I actually moved to the other side, providing feedback, I made sure I made sure anything that I received that I didn't like it, I made sure that I'm not giving that back to the people who actually heavily rely on me. So that's why I'm saying that it's actually, a learning curve. It's learning, right? Because you want to.
There's a lot in there. There's a lot in what you just said that I think is really, really exciting and interesting. Because again, I want to bring us back to our topic, right? And the idea is that, effectively providing feedback and effectively receiving feedback is what can create high performance.
Yeah.
And that's, well, so you said something interesting, right? Like there's a certain level of maturity, and as you progress through your career, and you even said now you're better at receiving feedback, and as a result you're better at giving feedback than you were, say, 10 years ago. And because I'm a coach, and I can't resist asking this question.
Yes.
Because here's the thing, there's folks that are listening who are earlier in their career, who maybe don't have that maturity, that level of skill. So if you were giving yourself advice, like that 10 years ago you that struggled to receive feedback, what would you tell her? What would you tell her 10 years ago? Like what you know now, what do you wish you knew 10 years ago?
I see my takeaway and continuous learning is don't take every feedback as something to do with you. I mean, yes, you will get feedback once you have your performance review, or like you worked on something and you'll say, somebody naturally comes and give you some feedback, right? But you need to be in your mindset to differentiate which is important for you, right? And who you are getting from. So say, for example, me as a manager and giving feedback to my direct reports, that feedback, I make sure that it's relevant for that person, right? Like, I'm not going to go and talk to my kid and say, hey, why didn't you do this work? And like, these are different consequences, right? But and what I'm saying is, when as like, from my previous experience, or like current, when I receive a feedback, I don't immediately act on it, react on it, and I stay calm and understand like where this is coming from, right? So, and then I also ask questions. So you don't have to take anything personal. They maybe the person who is giving me a feedback, he meant what he or she meant what he wanted to help me, or maybe they're just giving a general feedback. So you need to be able to identify and act on it, rather like immediately take it personally, because your emotions are kind of running around, right? So you just have to calm yourself. But again, it's so easy to say than actually doing it, but it takes time.
I think for me, in the times that I've received feedback, like negative feedback, that it really hit poorly and that I responded poorly. And if anyone who's watching this worked with me 10 years ago or more, they're probably familiar with that. But I think there's the way that I've processed this is I realized that exactly what you said earlier. It's not about me. It's just about something that I did. But when I believed that it was about me, and like about me, the core of me, my capabilities, my identity, my ability to be good at what I do, well, then that hits the core. That hits something that it shouldn't have access to.
Yes.
And as a result of that, it got in the way of my being able to be a high performer. Because if I could just take it and hold it in front of me and say, okay, here's this thing. I don't have to consume it. I don't have to make it part of me. I just have to look at it. That's easy. Isn't it?
Absolutely.
You also touched on sort of the nature of giving feedback. And we haven't spent an awful lot of time on that. But I know that before we started talking, you had mentioned Kim Scott's radical candor and some of what that is. And I know that like in a nutshell, radical candor is the kind of feedback that you receive. Like it's negative feedback, and you talked about it, right? Or improvement-based feedback that comes from a place of genuine care.
Yes.
And there's something different about that.
Because
go ahead.
No, what I'm saying is, again, it's all depending on who you are receiving it. And also me as the provider, I need to really care about that person, but provide the feedback directly. I rather you come to me and say, Krishna, here are the things I would see you doing it differently than, kind of go around the circle and come, not really telling me what I did wrong. I personally think that's not going to help me grow. So really care personally, but, provide the feedback directly. And like, I know things, it's going to hurt your feelings, but here, because you care, I know you care about me, right? Because you when I am not in like feedback session, I know how you're treating me, so I know you genuinely care about me. But so when I receive a feedback from somebody I know for sure care about that person, care about everybody, then my receiving would be much like smoother.
Well, and what I find really interesting about that too is that there's an opportunity to demonstrate the care outside of the delivery of feedback, and when I'm operating with someone, whether it's a member of my team or whether it's someone that I report to or someone who reports to me, and I can feel that support, that level of care, like that empathy, then I'm able to receive very critical feedback from that person much more easily than I am from someone who doesn't offer that level of care. Right?
Absolutely.
Like I can so if I'm in a leadership position and what I want to be able to do is easily offer critical feedback, then the first thing to do is to demonstrate care. The first thing to do is to demonstrate that I actually care about the people that are working on that team.
Exactly.
And what's important to them.
Exactly.
Because then I can be honest.
Exactly.
And they'll receive it.
Yes.
And they'll receive it in the intention, like with the way that it's intended to be received, like with the genuine desire to improve.
Absolutely. Yes. That's the kind of feedback we should adapt, if you ask me. I'm just looking at the time, wondering.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, we haven't received any comments, but that's okay. But we are coming up to the time when it's about time to wrap up. So maybe what we should do is talk about, well, what do we want? Like, what's the takeaway from this conversation, Krishna? What do we want people to really to understand? Because for me, I think there's really two different cycles that we're talking about. We're talking about the people who offer feedback, and we're talking about the people who receive feedback, and it's different depending on those. So maybe that's the way to look at this. Like, what do we want for these two groups of folks?
Yeah, and see, feedback also, again, going back to the retro or agile related feedback, it depends, right? Like I earlier said, when you are in a Scrum team and you have this retro ceremony, your feedback is like everybody share the feedback and openly and genuinely, because the goal for them is to get better on the next one, right? And as a Scrum Master or the product owner, your responsibility is to ensure you give them that safe environment that everybody is able to talk, right? It's not just Krishna or just Todd alone. You give everyone a chance so they can provide their feedback, right? Openly and safely. When there are also a scenario where I'm not comfortable to openly give my feedback, right? That time I have to still respect, because I'm going to have that one-on-one. Maybe I'm comfortable going to my Scrum Master and say, these are the things I like you to help me, which is okay too. Not everybody is comfortable talking in public, and that. So I personally think it's all depending, and we need to respect each and every individual, because everybody is different. And when it comes to feedback, I would also treat it such a way that you, like as a leader, you need to understand, you need to see and give the options to your people. That way they are able to help you bring back what is required for you to take action.
Like, because what I'm hearing from here is, as a leader, if what I want is for my feedback to land, I should start with caring. Like, I should start with really genuinely caring about the people that I want to provide feedback to. And as an individual, like as a member of the team, my first takeaway is, well, don't take it personally, because it might be about something that I've done, but it's not about who I am. No one can touch that.
Absolutely.
Right. And then I can get curious. Then I can sort of examine it. And it's like, okay, yeah, this is a gift, but is it a sweater that I want to wear? Or is it a sweater that, I'm going to put in the closet and I probably won't ever wear? And that's okay.
Exactly. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's your option. It's your decision. Yes. But you give them
agency.
Yes.
Yeah. Krishna, I've had such a good time talking to you today. Thank you so much.
No, I can't believe, Todd, before the call, I told you I would be very nervous, and you just kind of helped me to, I'm now like, I don't want to end this call, but unfortunately, sincerely, I don't know how many times I have told you, Todd, you've been an amazing leader, and I'm still thankful for always
Oh,
being there for me.
oh, that's very
You
kind.
actually, you were my leader, and I'm still following your footsteps, and I appreciate everything you've done. Thank you.
We always have a good time in our conversations, Krishna, and I appreciate you. Listen, if folks want to get a hold of you to continue this conversation, what's the best way for them to do that?
Everybody knows, most of them know I'm very active in LinkedIn, and if
Mm-hmm.
anybody wants to reach out to me for
Okay.
any, I'm happy to be available.
Awesome. And your LinkedIn profile is linked to this event on LinkedIn as well. So that's easy. And of course, everyone, I'm Todd Karges. You can reach me on LinkedIn or at toddkarges.com. And that's a wrap for today. Krishna, thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just wanted to close
Yeah.
session. There is an amazing session coming up by Joanne Stone. That she's another amazing agilist, and I wanted, if
I know
anybody
Joanne, yeah.
watching this, I would like you guys to take a look at that. It's in my LinkedIn page as well. And Joanne Stone, everybody is familiar with her, so check it out. There is a session coming up on April 26th, and I would strongly encourage. And if you are passionate,
we'll put a link. Yeah, we'll put a link to that in the notes to this event on LinkedIn. Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Krishna. All right, I'm going to end the call.